My name is Sarah Mitchell, and what happened to me in the summer of 2014 still haunts me every single night. I was one of the lucky ones, if you can call it that, because what I experienced in those woods, what took me, I still don't understand it, and I'm not sure I ever will. It was July 15th, 2014. I was 11 years old, and my family had driven up to Crater Lake National Park in Oregon for our annual camping trip. My dad loved the outdoors, and every summer, without fail, we'd pack up the RV and spend a week surrounded by nature. I used to love it too. Used to. The morning it happened started like any other. The sun was bright, the air smelled like pine and wildflowers, and my mom had packed us sandwiches for a day hike. My older brother Jake was supposed to watch me while our parents set up the campsite. But Jake was 16 and more interested in his phone than babysitting his little sister. Around 10 a.m., we set off on the Garfield Peak Trail. It wasn't a difficult hike. Families did it all the time. The trail was well marked, lined with bright orange markers every 50 feet or so. My mom had given me strict instructions. Stay on the path, don't wander off, and stay within sight of Jake. I followed those rules for the first hour. We were about 2 miles, and when I saw them, wild huckleberries growing just off the trail, maybe 15 feet into the tree line. They were everywhere, fat and purple and glistening in the sunlight. My mom loved huckleberries. I thought it would be nice to surprise her with some. I called out to Jake, but he had his earbuds in and was 10 yards ahead. I figured I'd just grab a handful real quick and catch up. It would take 30 seconds, tops. I stepped off the trail. The moment I did, something felt wrong. The temperature dropped instantly, like I'd walked into a freezer. The sounds of the forest, the birds, the wind, even Jake's footsteps ahead, all of it just stopped. It was like someone had hit a mute button on the entire world. I should have turned back. God, I should have turned back. But I kept walking toward those berries. And here's the thing that still makes my blood run cold. I don't remember choosing to keep walking. It was like my legs were moving on their own, like something was pulling me forward. I reached the berry bush and started picking. My fingers were shaking even though I didn't understand why. That's when I heard it. A whistle. Not a bird whistle. Not a human whistle. Something in between. It came from deeper in the woods, maybe 50 feet away. It was melodic, almost pretty, but there was something fundamentally wrong about it. It made my stomach twist. Jake, I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. The whistle came again, closer this time, and then I heard footsteps. But they weren't normal footsteps. They were wrong. Too heavy, too evenly spaced, like something mimicking the sound of walking without understanding the rhythm. I dropped the berries and turned to run back to the trail, but the trail was gone. I spun around in a complete circle. Nothing looked familiar. The trees seemed taller, darker. The orange trail markers had vanished. Even the sunlight looked different, dimmer, grayer, like I was looking at the world through a dirty window. Jake, I screamed. M.O.M. Dad. Nothing. No response. Just that horrible, suffocating silence. I started running. I didn't know which direction. I just ran. Branches whipped my face. Roots tried to trip me. But I didn't care. I just needed to find the trail, find my family, find anyone. The whistling followed me. Sometimes behind me. Sometimes to my left. Once, I swear it came from directly above. But when I looked up, there was nothing but empty branches. I ran for what felt like hours. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, but the forest just went on and on. Nothing looked right. The trees seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at them, shifting positions like chess pieces. Then I tripped. I fell hard, my hand sinking into wet moss. When I looked up, I saw something that made my heart stop. There was a clearing ahead, and in the center of it stood a man. At least, I think it was a man. He was facing away from me, perfectly still, wearing what looked like a dark green jacket. His head was tilted at a strange angle, like he was listening for something. "Hello," I called out, my voice cracking. "I'm lost." Can you help me?" He didn't move, didn't respond, just stood there, that unnatural head tilt, like a puppet with cut strings. I took a step closer. "Please, I need." He turned around. I can't describe his face. Not because I don't remember it. I remember it perfectly. Every night in my nightmares. But my brain can't make sense of what I saw. It was like, imagine someone who had never seen a human face before trying to create one from memory. Everything was slightly wrong. The eyes too far apart. The mouth too wide. The skin too smooth, like plastic. And he smiled at me. That's when I started screaming. I don't remember what happened next. There's just nothing. A blank space in my memory that lasts hours. The next thing I remember, I was lying on my back, staring up at a night sky full of stars. I was freezing, soaked through with dew. My clothes were torn, my hands bleeding from scratches I didn't remember getting. I sat up slowly, my head pounding. I was in a completely different part of the forest, but somehow, impossibly, I could hear voices calling my name. Sarah. Sarah Mitchell. Search and rescue. They were close. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't work properly, so I screamed instead, as loud as I could. They found me 20 minutes later. 2 rangers and a search dog. They wrapped me in a thermal blanket and kept asking if I was okay, if I was hurt, what had happened. I couldn't answer. I was shaking too hard. Later, at the ranger station, they told me I'd been missing for 17 hours. The trail where I'd disappeared was only 2 miles from our campsite. The place where they found me was 14 miles away, on the complete opposite side of the park, in terrain so rough that experienced hikers struggled with it. My parents were sobbing, holding me, thanking God I was alive. Jake looked like he'd aged 5 years, guilt written all over his face. But the rangers, they looked disturbed. One of them, an older guy named Frank who'd worked in the park for 30 years, pulled my parents aside. I heard fragments of their conversation. Happens more than people know. Always children, same description. That whistling sound, never find them. And when they do, my mom asked what he meant by that last part. Frank just shook his head. Your daughter's lucky. Most of them don't come back. And the ones that do, they're never quite right afterward. He was right about that last part. I haven't been quite right since that day. I haven't been able to go into any forest, any wooded area, not even city parks. Because sometimes, even now, 10 years later, I still hear that whistling. It comes at night, usually, when I'm alone in my room with the windows closed. It's faint, distant, but unmistakable. That same melodic, wrong tune. And the worst part, last month, I found something in my jacket pocket. The same jacket I was wearing that day. That's been hanging in my closet for a decade. A handful of huckleberries. Still fresh. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm a 42-year-old geology professor, an experienced outdoorsman, and someone who prided himself on never getting lost. Past tense. Because after what happened to me in Yosemite in March of 2017, I don't trust my sense of direction anymore. I don't trust anything anymore. I'd been planning this solo backpacking trip for months. 3 days, 2 nights, exploring some of the less traveled areas of Yosemite National Park. I had top-of-the-line GPS equipment, satellite phone, emergency beacon, 20 years of hiking experience. I was as prepared as humanly possible. The weather was perfect that first day. Clear skies, temperature in the mid-60s, light breeze. I'd started at the trailhead around 7 a.m., planning to reach my first campsite by late afternoon. The trail was rated moderate, nothing I hadn't handled 100 times before. By 2 p.m., I was making excellent time. I stopped for lunch near a small creek, checked my GPS to confirm my position. Everything was exactly where it should be. I was within half a mile of where I'd planned to be. I should have known better than to congratulate myself like that. The wilderness has a way of humbling you when you get cocky. Around 3:15 p.m., I noticed something odd. I'd been following what should have been a well-established trail, but it seemed to be fading. The packed earth was giving way to loose soil and pine needles. The trees were getting denser, pressing in on both sides. I checked my GPS. According to the device, I was still on the trail, but what I was walking on barely qualified as a game path anymore. I stopped, pulled out my paper map to cross-reference. That's when I felt it, that instinctive, primal sensation that you're being watched. I turned around slowly, scanning the tree line. Nothing, just dense forest, shadows, and silence. But the feeling didn't go away. If anything, it got stronger. I decided to trust my GPS and keep moving forward. The device said the trail would open up again in quarter mile. I'd done the research. I'd studied the terrain. Technology and preparation had never failed me before. They failed me that day. After another 10 minutes of walking, I realized something was seriously wrong. The GPS still showed me on the trail, but I was now pushing through underbrush so thick I could barely move forward. The trail had completely disappeared. I stopped and turned back. I'd retrace my steps, find where I'd gone off course, start again. Simple. Except when I turned around, I couldn't find my own footprints. The ground behind me was covered in undisturbed pine needles and moss. No broken branches, no compressed earth. Nothing to indicate I'd come that way at all. It was like the forest had erased every trace of my passage. My heart started pounding. This wasn't possible. I'd just walked through here. Seconds ago, I pulled out my GPS again. The little blue dot showed me on the trail, but the map itself looked wrong. The contour lines were in different positions. Features I'd memorized weren't where they should be. It was the same map, but also not the same map. Then I noticed something that made my blood freeze. According to the GPS, I traveled 8.7 miles that day, but the display time showed 3:17 p.m., only 2 minutes since I had last checked it. That's when I heard the laughter. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. A child's laughter, high and bright, echoing through the trees. But there was something off about it. The pitch warbled and fluctuated, like an audio recording played at the wrong speed. "Hello," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Is someone there? Are you lost?" The laughter stopped abruptly. The silence that followed was absolute. No birds, no wind, no rustling leaves. Nothing. Then I heard footsteps. Small ones, running through the forest. They circled me, moving from tree to tree, always just out of sight. I spun around, trying to track the sound, but it moved too fast, impossibly fast. "This isn't funny," I shouted. "If you need help, show yourself." The footsteps stopped directly behind me. I could hear breathing. Raspy, wet, like someone with a chest cold. It was close enough that I should have felt breath on my neck. I turned around. There was a boy standing 3 feet away. He looked maybe 7 or 8 years old, wearing clothes that seemed wrong for hiking. Dress shoes, slacks, a button-up shirt. His skin was pale, almost gray. His eyes were too large, too dark, like pools of oil. And his smile was too wide, stretching from ear to ear in a way that human mouths shouldn't move. "Are you lost, mister?" the boy asked. His voice sounded hollow, like it was coming from far away even though he was right in front of me. I couldn't speak. Every instinct was screaming at me to run, but I was frozen. The boy tilted his head. "You should follow the trail. It's not safe here. Things get lost here. Things that don't come back." What are you?" I managed to whisper. His smile grew impossibly wider. "I'm lost too. I've been lost for a very long time. Since 1968. Or maybe it was yesterday. It's hard to tell in here." "And where?" I asked, even though part of me didn't want to know the answer. "In between," the boy said simply. "You're in between now too. The forest has cracks, you see. Thin places. You slip through one." Then he pointed behind me. "But there's a way back, if you're fast enough, if it lets you." I turned to look where he was pointing. When I looked back, the boy was gone, vanished without a sound, without a trace, like he'd never been there at all. but I could see what he'd been pointing at. There, maybe 50 yards away through the trees, I could see a break in the forest. Light, open space. The trail. I ran. I crashed through brush, jumped over fallen logs, slipped on wet moss, but I didn't stop. Behind me, I could hear things moving through the forest. Multiple things, pacing me, herding me toward that opening of light. The child's laughter echoed again, multiplied now, coming from a dozen different directions at once. My lungs were burning, my legs screaming, but that opening was getting closer. 20 yards, 15, 10. Something grabbed my backpack, jerking me backward. I didn't look, didn't stop. I shrugged out of the straps and kept running. 5 yards. I could hear voices now, human voices, calling out coordinates and directions. Search and rescue. They were close. 3 yards. The laughter rose to a shriek, so loud it felt like my eardrums would burst. I dove through the opening. I hit the ground hard, rolling, gasping for air. Hands grabbed me. People were shouting. Someone was checking my pulse. We've got him. Marcus Webb, we've got him. I was on a trail. A real, actual trail with packed earth and orange markers and boot prints from other hikers. A search and rescue team surrounded me. 5 people, 2 dogs, all looking at me with a mixture of relief and confusion. Mr. Webb, are you injured? Can you hear me? I nodded, still tried to catch my breath. How did you find me? The team leader, a woman named Rodriguez, exchanged a glance with her colleague. Your emergency beacon went off 45 minutes ago. We reached your last known GPS coordinates, but you weren't there. Then you just appeared on the trail, like you'd been there all along. That's impossible, I said. I was miles off trail. I was lost. There was a boy and... Mr. Webb, Rodriguez interrupted gently. You're standing on the trail you were supposed to be on. Your footprints are in the soil right where your GPS said you'd be. It's like you never left. I looked around. She was right. I recognized landmarks from my map. I was exactly where I was supposed to be at exactly the time I was supposed to be there. But I'd been lost. I'd been in that wrong place for how long? I checked my watch. It showed 3:19 p.m. I'd been lost for 4 minutes. They escorted me back to the ranger station. I tried to explain what happened, but even to my own ears, it sounded insane. They were kind about it, suggesting dehydration, altitude sickness, maybe a mild concussion. I let them believe that. It was easier than the truth, but I knew what I'd experienced, and I knew I'd never go back into Yosemite or any national park ever again. The ranger gave me back my belongings before I left. Everything I'd had with me was there. My GPS, my phone, my map. Everything except my backpack. The one I'd left behind when I ran. I didn't tell them about it. What would I say? I left it in a place that doesn't exist, in a forest between forests, in cracks in reality. But here's what keeps me awake at night. Last week, I got a package in the mail. No return address. No postage. It just appeared on my doorstep. Inside was my backpack. Everything was still in it. My sleeping bag, my camp stove, my food. All exactly as I'd packed it. Except for one thing. Pressed between the pages of my field journal was a photograph. Polaroid, old and faded, dated 1968. It showed a boy in dress clothes, smiling at the camera. The same boy I'd seen in the forest. And behind him, barely visible in the background, was a figure in hiking gear. The figure was wearing my jacket. My journal entry from that day? I never wrote one. But when I opened the journal, there was an entry there in handwriting that looked like mine, but wasn't quite right. It said, Day 1427. Still trying to find my way back. Starting to forget what the real forest looks like. Saw a hiker today. He looked so afraid. I tried to help him. I hope he makes it out. I hope he doesn't end up like me. The entry was dated March 23rd, 2017, the day I got lost. My name is Jennifer Hartley, and I was part of a search team that found 6-year-old Emma Richardson in Olympic National Park in August of 2019. I've been a park ranger for 15 years. I've seen a lot of strange things in these mountains. But what happened during that search, what Emma told us, some things can't be explained, and maybe they shouldn't be. Emma Richardson went missing on August 14th, 2019. She'd been on a family camping trip with her parents and older sister. According to the reports, the family had been at their campsite, right in the designated camping area, surrounded by other families. Emma had been playing with her sister near the picnic table while her parents prepared lunch. Her mother, Carol, had turned away for maybe 30 seconds to grab something from the cooler. When she looked back, Emma was gone. 30 seconds. That's all it took. The parents searched the immediate area first. Then they got other campers involved. Within 20 minutes, they'd contacted park services. Within an hour, we had a full search and rescue operation underway. I was part of the first response team. We started with a standard grid search, moving outward from the last known position. We had dogs, thermal imaging, helicopters, the works. The weather was clear, the temperature mild. If Emma had just wandered off, we should have found her within a few hours. But we didn't. By nightfall of the first day, we'd searched a 5-mile radius. Nothing. No footprints, no torn clothing, no signs of disturbance. It was like she'd evaporated. The search dogs were acting strange. They'd pick up a scent, follow it for maybe 20 yards, then stop suddenly and refuse to go further. Their handlers had never seen anything like it. One of the dogs, a German shepherd named Max who'd found dozens of missing persons, actually started whimpering and backing away from the trail. On day 2, we expanded the search to 10 miles. Volunteers came from all over the state. News crews set up camp. The FBI got involved. Emma's face was on every TV screen, every social media feed. Her parents were falling apart. Her father, David, barely spoke. He just kept hiking with the search teams, calling Emma's name until his voice gave out. Carol was worse. She sat at the command post, staring at nothing, clutching Emma's favorite stuffed rabbit. We found her on day 3. Or rather, she found us. It was around 2 p.m. I was with the search team working a section of forest about 12 miles from the last known position. 12 miles. For a 6-year-old, that should have been impossible, especially over the terrain we covered. One of the volunteers, a guy named Tim, suddenly stopped and grabbed my arm. "Do you hear that?" I listened. At first, I didn't hear anything. Then singing. A child's voice, singing softly. We followed the sound through the trees. The singing got louder, clearer. It was "You Are My Sunshine." Carol had told us it was Emma's favorite song. We found her in a small clearing, sitting cross-legged in the center, still singing to herself. She was clean. That was the first thing I noticed. 3 days in the wilderness, and she was spotless. Her clothes weren't torn, weren't even dirty. Her blonde hair was neatly brushed. She had no scratches, no bug bites, no signs of exposure. She looked like she'd just stepped out of her house. "Emma," I called out softly, not wanting to startle her. "Emma, honey, we're here to help you." She stopped singing and looked up at me. Her expression was blank neutral, like she didn't recognize me or understand why adults in uniforms were surrounding her. "Emma, my name is Jennifer. I'm a park ranger. Your mommy and daddy have been looking for you. Can you tell me where you've been?" She didn't answer, just stared at me with those big blue eyes. I approached slowly, knelt down to her level. "Are you hurt? Are you hungry?" She shook her head. Then, in a tiny voice, she said, "I can't tell you." "Can't tell me what, sweetie?" "Where I was. They said I can't tell anyone. They said it's a secret." The way she said they made my skin crawl. We got Emma back to base camp. The reunion with her parents was strange. Carol was sobbing, holding Emma, thanking God over and over. David was crying too, but quietly, like he couldn't quite believe it was real. But Emma didn't react. She let herself be hugged, but she didn't hug back. She didn't cry. She just stood there, passive, like a doll being moved around by someone else. The medics checked her immediately. That's when things got really weird. No dehydration, no malnutrition, no scratches, bruises, or insect bites. Her core body temperature was perfect. She showed no signs of exposure or distress. It's like she wasn't in the wilderness at all. One of the paramedics muttered to me, "It's like she's been in climate-controlled care the whole time." But that was impossible. We'd searched everywhere. There were no structures, no caves, no places where someone could have hidden a child. They transported Emma and her family to the hospital for full evaluation. I thought that would be the end of it. Strange case, miraculous outcome. Everyone goes home happy. But then I got a call from the hospital that night. Emma had started talking, but only to the child psychologist, Dr. Reeves, and only when her parents weren't in the room. Dr. Reeves asked if I could come in. She wanted me to hear what Emma was saying. I drove to the hospital. Dr. Reeves met me in the hallway outside Emma's room. She looked shaken. "I've been doing this for 20 years, she said. "I've worked with traumatized children who've been through unspeakable things. But this, Ranger Hartley, I don't know what to make of this." She led me into an observation room where I could watch Emma through a one-way mirror. Emma was sitting on the hospital bed, swinging her legs, looking surprisingly calm. Dr. Reeves went back into the room and sat down across from Emma. "Emma," she said gently, "can you tell me again what you told me before? About where you were?" Emma nodded. Her voice was matter-of-fact, like she was describing a trip to the grocery store. "I was in the quiet place." "Can you describe the quiet place?" "It's where the lost children go. It looks like the forest, but everything's wrong. The trees are too tall. The sky is the wrong color. Nothing makes sound when you touch it." Dr. Reeves kept her voice steady. "And who took you there?" "The not parents." "Can you tell me about the not parents?" Emma thought for a moment. "They look like people, but they're not. They move wrong. Their voices sound like they're coming from far away. They smiled at me, but their smiles were too big." I felt sick listening to this. "What did the not parents do?" Dr. Reeves asked. "They took care of me. They gave me food that tasted like nothing. They brushed my hair. They sang to me, but the songs had no words. They told me they were keeping me safe until it was time to go back." "Time to go back?" "They said the forest takes children sometimes. It gets hungry. But if the not parents take care of us in the quiet place, the forest gives us back. Eventually." "Emma," Dr. Reeves said carefully, "were there other children in the quiet place?" Emma nodded. "Lots. Some had been there for a long time. Some of them forgot their real names. Some of them said they'd been there since before I was born, but they still looked like kids." "Did anyone else come back with you?" Dr. Reeves asked. Emma shook her head. "The not parents said I could go because my time wasn't very long. They said some children have to stay forever. They become helpers. They become like the not parents." "Why did they let you go?" Emma looked directly at the one-way mirror, directly at me, even though she shouldn't have been able to see me. "They said to tell the Rangers something." My blood ran cold. "What did they want you to tell them?" "They said the forest is older than people know. It has rules that people don't understand. It takes what it needs. Usually it doesn't give back, but sometimes it does as a gift, to remind people that the forest is not theirs." Emma kept staring at the mirror, at me. "They said to tell you that you've been walking in the quiet place too. You just don't know it yet. They said you go there sometimes in your dreams. They said they've been watching you since the winter." I nearly fell out of my chair, because she was right. Since last December, I've been having the same dream over and over. Walking through Olympic National Park, but everything's slightly wrong. Colors too muted, sounds too distant, and always, the feeling of being watched. I thought they were just nightmares from job stress. The official report classified Emma's disappearance as wandered off, recovered unharmed. The FBI closed the case. The media moved on to the next story. But Dr. Reeves submitted a psychiatric evaluation that got buried in the files. Emma's parents moved away from Washington State 3 months later. They wouldn't talk to reporters, wouldn't talk to other agencies, just packed up and left. I tried to follow up with them once. Emma's mother answered the phone. When I identified myself, there was a long silence. Then she said, "She's not the same. She looks like Emma. She sounds like Emma. But she's not. Not completely. Sometimes I catch her staring at nothing, smiling that too wide smile. Sometimes I hear her talking to people who aren't there. And sometimes, late at night, I hear her singing in a language I don't recognize." "Please don't call again," Carol said and hung up. I should have left the park after that. I should have transferred, found a new career, anything to get away from these woods. But I didn't, because I needed to understand. I needed to know if what Emma said was real or if it was just trauma manifesting as fantasy. I got my answer 3 months ago. I was doing a routine patrol alone in a section of the park I'd walked 100 times before. It was late afternoon, good weather, nothing unusual. Then I turned a corner and everything went silent. The bird song stopped. The wind died. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in an instant. I was in the quiet place. The trees were wrong. Too tall. Branches at angles that didn't make sense. The sky was gray-green, like looking at the world through dirty water. My footsteps made no sound on the trail. And ahead of me, standing in the middle of the path, was a little girl. She was wearing a dress from the 1950s. Her hair was in pigtails. She was smiling that too wide smile. "Hello, Ranger Hartley," she said in that faraway voice. "We've been waiting for you. The Knott parents want to talk to you. They want to show you something." I turned and ran. I ran faster than I've ever run in my life. Not looking back, not stopping. After what felt like hours, the sounds came back. The forest looked normal again. I was back. But when I checked my watch, only 5 seconds had passed. I put in for a transfer the next day. I'm leaving Olympic National Park next month, getting as far away from these woods as possible. But here's what keeps me up at night. What makes me check my daughter's room 3 times before bed. I never told anyone the name of my daughter, but that little girl in the quiet place knew it. She called out to me as I ran. I can still hear it echoing in my nightmares. Tell Lily we'll see her soon. Tell her the Knott parents are excited to meet her. Tell her she'll love the quiet place. My daughter's name is Lily. She's 6 years old. And next week, we're supposed to go camping.